Andy Carroll makes feelings clear on Alexander Isak's conduct over Liverpool transfer. Alexander Isak could follow Andy Carroll's footsteps in leaving St. James' Park behind to move to Anfield in a club record transfer for Liverpool, but the former Newcastle striker insists their situations are very different. Alexander Isak is still on strike at Newcastle as he pushes for a move to Liverpool. Andy Carroll has criticized Alexander Isak for trying to force a move to Liverpool and says the striker has burned his bridges with Newcastle fans. Isach has gone on strike and will not be involved in Newcastle's opening Premier League fixture against Aston Villa on Saturday, as he has made it clear he wants to complete a move to Anfield. Liverpool has had one bid rejected for the Swedish international, but that offer did not come close to Newcastle's valuation, and the clubs remain at a standoff. Carroll, 36, played for both clubs after Liverpool spent a club record $47.4 million, £35 million, to sign him in 2011. But the Newcastle-born forward later returned to St. James' Park and insisted he never wanted to join Liverpool in the first place, unlike Wanaway Isach. Being from Newcastle, I didn't really want to leave. Didn't want to go. I wanted to stay. And it was tough when I did go, Carroll told Sky Sports. But Isak's not from Newcastle, so he can act like he's acting now and think it's acceptable. It's a big move for him. The way he's playing his cards at the minute, the Newcastle fans are not going to back him. He's not going to help himself, and it's a shame because he's such a good player, and every Newcastle fan wants him to stay. The manager wants him to stay. It's not really the same as me because it's not his club. The Geordies took him in and made him one of their own, but when he wants to go, that's his mind changed. Andy Carroll says he never wanted to leave Newcastle for Liverpool. Liverpool's opening offer for Isach of £110 million plus £10 million in add-ons was turned down by Newcastle, who value their star man at close to £150 million. Isach refused to go on Newcastle's pre-season tour of Asia, citing a thigh injury, instead training former club Real Sociedad. Since his return to Newcastle, the 25-year-old has been training alone, and boss Eddie Howe admitted Isach would not be selected for the clash at Villa, despite him wanting his striker on the field. Howe said, "We do have to forget about Isach. He's not here with us. We have to focus on who is here and get the best out of them. The players are aware he's not here. The focus will be on each player playing to the best of their ability. I want him to play. I want him to train. I've had those conversations with Isach, but the details of those will remain private. There is no change to the situation. All my focus has been on the training, Aston Villa, and the transfer front in terms of getting players in. That is all consuming for me. Alex's situation has been unchanged for a while, and that will continue to be the case." Newcastle are still seeking a viable replacement for Isach, with the Mail reporting. The Northeast club are still exploring the possibility of a deal for Paris Saint-Germain's Goncalo Ramos. The Magpies are not under pressure to sell, with Isaac still under a contract for another 3 years. But Newcastle fans have already made clear they do not want Isaac at the club, and failure to strike a deal with Liverpool before the transfer deadline on September 1st would ultimately leave Howe with a player who does not want to be there. In what appeared an attempt to tug on Isak's heartstrings, Howe said, "Me and Alex have enjoyed a great relationship. I don't think he would have done as well as he has done without that, without his teammates, without the supporters. He is a highly intelligent person, and he knows he wouldn't have had the success he's had without everybody connected with Newcastle." Alexander Isach is continuing to push for a move to Liverpool in the summer transfer window, and it is now claimed Newcastle are set to find the Sweden international. Liverpool had their opening offer for Alexander Isach turned down. Newcastle United are reportedly set to impose a club fine on striker Alexander Isach should he miss the opening match of the Premier League season, as he seeks to engineer a move to Liverpool. The Sweden international could face financial penalties as his refusal to play for the Magpies comes to a head in their clash with Aston Villa. Isach has been pushing for a transfer to Liverpool this summer and hasn't trained with Eddie Howe's first team since they embarked on their preseason tour of Asia. The forward has been training separately from his teammates who helped secure the club's Champions League qualification last season. Liverpool have already had a bid turned down by Newcastle this summer. Initially, the Magpies insisted that the forward was not up for sale, and it's not anticipated that the Reds will make another offer unless given some encouragement. However, Isach isn't ready to give up on his dream move just yet, and has claimed that he won't play for Newcastle again, regardless of how things unfold over the coming weeks. This defiant stance could lead to the 25-year-old being punished. Amid the ongoing standoff, the former Real Sociedad star continues to receive his weekly wages of £140,000. No fine has been levied yet, despite his declaration that he won't play for the club. According to Mail Online, via the Mirror, Newcastle's approach is expected to change once Isach misses a competitive match, at which point disciplinary action will be taken. The Magpies kick off their Premier League campaign with a trip to Aston Villa this weekend. Isak's position is said to be steadfast, with concerns that any softening of his stance would only embolden Newcastle into thinking a compromise can be reached, thereby quashing any hopes of a transfer. Despite edging closer to signing Yoane Wissa, the St. James Park outfit have yet to find an adequate replacement for their main striker. Howe has admitted that the current predicament has thrown a spanner in his squad's preseason preparations. "I think morale was certainly affected early on during preseason," he confessed. "There was nothing I could do to affect that it was always going to be there. When you have a player that good who is not part of your group, it's difficult for the players to fully understand it and to know what's going on and how to react. But as time has gone on, there has been an acceptance that this is the squad, and we have got to make the best of the situation. That's always been my train of thought. Whatever situation you're in, you have got to find a way, and you can only control what you can control. We have moved forward, and I've got to say the atmosphere of the group has been very good in the last couple of weeks." Shocking behavior, Ian Wright slams Alexander Isach. Over £150 million, Liverpool transfer. Push, shocking behavior, Ian Wright slams Alexander Isach. Over £150 million, Liverpool transfer push. Arsenal legend. Ian Wright has blasted Newcastle United striker Alexander Isach for his conduct as speculation mounts over a potential £150 million move to Liverpool. The 25-year-old has downed tools at St. James's Park, with several reports suggesting he is adamant he will never play for Newcastle again. Liverpool are understood to be pursuing a deal and had a British record £120 million being turned down earlier in the summer. Newcastle remain reluctant to sell their star striker despite his ongoing temper tantrum and still demand a fee of £150 million. Speaking on the Overlaps Stick to Football podcast, Arsenal legend Wright has weighed in on the situation, branding Isak's conduct as shocking. Wright said, "It doesn't look good. The behavior? It's kind of shocking. It's shocking behavior. I don't know what's happened with his agent. I don't know if his agent hasn't done the job properly. I don't know what it is, and if Liverpool were going to get him, go and pay the £150 million. I agree with Jamie Carragher. Liverpool told what it must do with Alexander Isak's transfer. Alexander Isach is seemingly desperate to join Liverpool from Newcastle United before the summer transfer window closes, but he would command a huge transfer fee. Alexander Isach wants to join Liverpool. Dietmar Hamann agreed with Jamie Carragher after the former Liverpool centre-back told his old club that it should not pay around $200 million to sign Alexander Isach. Isach is desperately trying to force a move away from Newcastle, having apparently told the Northeast club that he has no intention of ever playing for it again. The Sweden international is keen to move to Liverpool before the transfer window closes, so much so that he has moved out of the home he has been renting in Newcastle. Last month, Isach ruled himself out of Newcastle's pre-season tour of China, and upon his return to the club's training ground last week, he was ordered to train alone. It feels like a long road back now for Isach to revive his Newcastle career, and it is absolutely clear that the player currently has no intention of doing that anyway. Liverpool saw a bid of £110 million, $150 million, for Isach swiftly rejected earlier this month, with Newcastle said to value Isach at closer to £150 million, $204 million. There is little chance that Liverpool will go that high, but it is possible that the two teams will meet somewhere in the middle before the window closes. Carragher said last week that he didn't want Liverpool to spend over $200 million on Isach. It will be an amazing signing, but from a Liverpool fan point of view, I don't want the club to spend £150 million on Isach, Carragher said on the overlap. I could probably imagine that he was Liverpool's #1 target, but there's something about Liverpool buying a striker, Ekitike, for £80 million, and he's a backup. There's something about it that doesn't sit right to me. Dietmar Hamann doesn't want Liverpool to pay over $200 million for Alexander Isach. Speaking to casino sites, Hamann agreed with Carragher. He said, "I think Liverpool have made their intentions clear now. If they can agree on a fee, they'll probably have to take Alexander Isach, because I always feel if things go public, you can't leave the player hanging. I think it'll be very hard for Isach to go back to Newcastle now. Even if he doesn't join Liverpool, they've got to find a way of trying to integrate him back into the team. I suppose he will end up with Liverpool, Isach, but how are they going to play then? That remains to be seen. I wouldn't pay £150 million. I agree with Jamie Carragher. I think £150 million is a spicy price tag for him. He's a very good player. We know he can score goals in the Premier League, but I wouldn't mind if Liverpool start the season with Ekitike up top." Carlos Balaba, Ruben Amorim pushing for Manchester United to complete £120 million summer transfer. Red Devils are also said to be keen on signing Crystal Palace midfielder Adam Wharton. Ruben Amorim is pushing for Manchester United to sign Carlos Balaba from Brighton to accelerate a midfield rebuild. Man Utd's struggles last season were well documented. Scoring goals in the Premier League was one major concern, but they have already spent more than £200 million this summer on Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, and Benjamin Sesko to transform their attack. Now attentions have turned towards overhauling the midfield department. Balaba is said to have been identified by Amorim as the perfect addition to the Man United squad, given Manuel Ugarte's inconsistent performances in addition to Casemiro not getting any younger. Although it has been reported that the Red Devils have seen a first bid for the 21-year-old rejected, as Brighton have little interest in selling the Cameroon international. However, the Independent insists Man United are still actively trying to complete a deal for Balaba in this window, and the Seagulls are understood to want around £120 million. The report states that the United hierarchy are currently figuring out how to construct a payment package, with one consideration to offer an initial £80 million with the rest made up of add-ons. Furthermore, it has been claimed that the Red Devils will almost certainly try again for Balaba next summer if they can't strike an agreement with Brighton before the current window slams shut. The club's long-term plan is to pair Balaba with Adam Wharton in midfield. In fact, it has been suggested that United may try for the Crystal Palace star this summer, but are aware he could cost even more. Meanwhile, they also acknowledge Palace chairman Steve Parish would be unwilling to do business, given that he could yet lose Marc Guéhi and Eberechi Eze. Other midfield alternatives are said to include Sporting's Morten Humelin, who previously worked under Amorim and Atalanta's Ederson, albeit in a slightly different role. No dice for Liverpool. Why Marc Guéhi is set to stay at Crystal Palace despite Premier League champions' transfer interest. Marc Guéhi is set to stay at Crystal Palace for the 2025-26 campaign, despite strong interest from Premier League champions Liverpool. The Reds have been linked with a move for the English defender for a long time now. However, they are far from reaching an agreement with the Eagles over a fee for Guéhi, who is into the final year of his current contract. Guéhi could stay back at Palace. Liverpool remain interested in signing defender, center-back into final year of his contract. Recommended external content video. We need your consent to show you content our editorial team embedded from video. You can toggle this and all other embeds from video across goal.com on with one click only and deactivate as well. Always display video content. I confirm that I would like to see external content. Personal identifiable data could be transferred to third parties. What happened? According to The Sun's Jack Rosser, Liverpool might not land their key transfer target in this summer's window, as Guéhi may well stay put at Selhurst Park. The journalist claims that the Reds are yet to negotiate a valuation of the defender with Crystal Palace, and the delay is proving to be a hindrance in completing the deal. Guéhi is also worried about regular game time at Anfield, which is a major concern for the defender less than a year before the 2026 World Cup. The bigger picture. With the Reds set to miss out on Guéhi, they have instead shifted their focus to Parma's 18-year-old defender, Giovanni Leoni. The English champions are reportedly inching closer to reaching an agreement with the Serie A side, who are demanding €30 million, pound 26 million / dollar 35 M, plus bonuses for the young center-back. Did you know? Gahai is into the final year of his contract at Palace and has yet to put pen to paper on fresh terms. The English defender is reportedly planning to see out his deal and might finally leave the club next summer as a free agent. What next for Crystal Palace? Oliver Glasner's side, who recently upset a star-studded Liverpool side and won the Community Shield, will kick off their Premier League campaign on Sunday as they take on Chelsea away from home.